Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Sharknado event in which the Wereshark is added to the game. We also got Community Week going on in Gems of War this week, where we're going to be getting a bunch of nice shiny things. So that's pretty cool. As far as the troop itself, it comes with brown blue arcanes. It is an epic, so it's only 200 glory per each, so cheapest it'll ever be, so good time to stock up on it. As far as the troop itself, it's pretty underwhelming though. It inflicts bleed to an enemy if they use blue mana. It'll inflict it twice more, so 3 total bleed. And then there's a 5% chance to devour them per lycanthropy gem on the board. Even if you had 10 lycanthropy gem on the board, that's still only a 50% chance, which is pretty much just at par at similar related devours within the game. So pretty much you're never going to be using this thing unless you could somehow consistently get 20 lycanthropy onto the board, which would of course give it a 100% chance to devour, which is pretty much never going to happen. So yeah, pretty much going to be useless as that standard kind of lycanthropy thing that a lot of things have been getting recently. Also gets to do bleed on skull, which could be maybe okay if it also had like a 50% chance to do true damage, but it doesn't have that, and doesn't have any true damage off its ability itself. So overall, it's going to be pretty bad and basically never used, and only really gotten to upgrade the kingdom. So, as far as bonuses this week, it is a little bit relevant because we do have 10% to all Merlantis and 10% to all Merfolk, which is of course 20% to nearly the entirety of the kingdom, including the hero class itself. So, has a bit of synergy there as far as the event week this week, the Thursday class event, and stuff like that. We also get a little bit extra gold if you end up using the Wereshark, though probably not worth going out of your way to do. Also, do keep in mind now that the Numapalooza, the amazing Numapalooza last weekend, is now over. Do be wary to not use your Numapalooza scrolls. I don't believe it mentions it in the game, but of course, 2 things. One is the 4 Vault Troops are now in the game, or the 4 new Numapalooza gnomes that we got last week that were introduced in the most recent patch are now in the Vault Key drop table. So if you want to open any of your surplus of Vault Keys for them, you can end up doing so. The other thing is, do not use a Numapalooza when it's not a Vault event. Of course, during the Vault event, it had really good value. However, it does not give you that exceedingly great Vault Key value when it's not a Vault event. So I believe the next one is on August 13th, or somewhere around there. So if you have any Numapaloozas left, you'll want to save them until then, because that's when they're going to have all of the value. Anyways, as far as other things that we got going on, event key drop table is for Merlantis. As far as what is in the Merlantis drop table, if we go over to Kingdom, click to Merlantis, and click Show All, ends up showing all the Merlantis troops that we have here. As far as what is not in the drop table, it should only be the 4 Sea of Sorrow troops. But aside from that, everything else you see here should be in drop table. Nothing really too worth going for. Probably a good week to skip on event keys unless you just really want to stock up. Nothing really too much of a must-have. It's mostly just for if you want to go get more kingdom upgrades. Overall, pretty underwhelming kingdom. Merfolks in general don't really have too many exceedingly good options. They have a lot of Submerge, and Submerge is really situational on when it is good. And because of that, a lot of them don't tend to actually be that good, just because of how situational the mechanic of Submerge, which they are all pretty heavily based on, actually is. It does come into play on occasion, but more often than not is not something you necessarily need for your team. And similarly, great week to just skip on event keys and save them for future weeks that are upcoming. Anyways, aside from the World event, we do have some extra magic damage, which is pretty nice. Always great to see. Definitely the easier one. As far as the rooms that you do, you literally just do it in rarity order. However, if you happen to have both the Deep King and Leviathan, it is better to prioritize the Deep King because it does give a little bit higher. But aside from that, you just do it based on rarity order, with the 2 legends being that the Deep King is slightly higher. So just rarity order, and if you have legends, take Deep King instead of Leviathan. And that's pretty much all you have to do. And if you just do rarity order, you'll probably be perfectly fine. And yeah, should be a pretty straightforward event. You have 20% on a good majority of what you can actually use too, because restriction is for Merfolk. So if you happen to be using Merfolk that are specifically from Merlantis, well, they all have 20% additional stats, which of course, combined with the extra spell damage, will be a lot of additional damage. So using anything from there should be pretty potent for just clearing out the World event, and overall one of the easier ones. As far as Community Week, we do have a couple things going on with this. We don't know exactly everything that will entail with it, but for example, right over here we have 2 VIP keys and 50 gems. VIP keys, if you don't have VIP 5, actually a little bit annoying to get otherwise, so whenever you can get them for free, you might want to save them. They actually got a buff several months ago. They actually used to have a 1% chance for a mythic. They now have a 1.67. So you probably want to save that for when a new mythic comes out if you're going to use them. I personally just hoard them. And that's like 3 years worth of free VIP keys, I believe. Somewhere's around there, because they do give free ones on occasion. Aside from that, we do have the thing going on with the calendar. Every single day, if you log in, you will be getting stuff throughout this entire week. Today was 10,000 gold. Most noteworthy thing is, I believe this portrait, title, or whatever that title is, can't even read it, and emojis. I believe all 3 of those are new. However, what isn't new is the Dragon Kitty. Oddly enough, Dragon Kitty was actually the community-made pet made about 2 years ago by the community. We basically went through a lot of voting, and that's basically what the pet ended at after all the categories of voting. A little dragon kitty with a ball of yarn, pretty cute. But yeah, that was a community-made pet, I believe about 2 years or so ago. So kind of funny that they're bringing it back for the community event, which kind of makes sense. There was also a community troop, the squid thing. I can't remember its name. It's not even remotely meta. But yeah, the kitty's better anyway, so good thing they're giving us the kitty instead. But there was also community-made troop made a while back. I think community-made weapon too, and I believe that's also completely off meta. The pet's the only useful one, so luckily they're giving us the pet, so works out. Anyways, aside from that, other stuff that we got going on this week, Tuesday we got Sea of Sorrows, because of course now it's associated to whatever the kingdom is, and the kingdom is Merlantis, and the Merlantis faction is Sea of Sorrows, so we got Sea of Sorrows. It's a brown-blue restriction. It's one of the more annoying pure factions, so good idea if you do want to get it done to maybe do it tomorrow, as it's one of the like top 5 hardest to do without potions. So you probably want to potion it if you have the gems, if you accumulated enough from last weekend and you're to the point where you're actually doing pure factions. Otherwise, just pretty much ignore it and just do the free battles. Anyways, aside from that, we got the blue Guild War pet on Wednesday. Thursday, we have Merlantis class, which is generally worse than Frost Mage class. However, this week is one of those rare exceptions where it might be okay to use because it does have 20% additional stats. However, more often than not, it is just a weaker version of Frost Mage pretty much. It's basically just Frost Mage with less freeze but more submerge. But it's normally better, of course, to have more freeze and less submerge, which is what Frost Mage is. And generally, you never use this class because it's basically just a weaker version of Frost Mage. And this Friday, we got Invasions. Oddly enough, it was the same team I made for last week. However, because they ended up doing the patch of 5.6 last week, and they ended up adding that and changed when the Vault event was. We had a Vault event instead. However, that invasion that we're supposed to have last week is now this Friday. So they basically just delayed it by a week. Speaking of 5.6, of course, they did do a couple changes with that, most of which you've already probably seen. Of course, we had the Numapalooza last weekend, as well as technically every Vault event here forth, as well as they fixed lycanthropy. And by fix, I did not mean remove it from the game. I mean they made it so it actually has a level and stuff like that, and it doesn't like delete gnomes whenever it gets transformed. So that's nice, especially since we had that all last week. However, one other thing that we ended up getting was, of course, 2 new warbands. Luckily, I have gotten enough to get them for free, but these weapons are now obtainable automatically as well as of today. So if you have level 100 in green, the next time you level, you should get these 2 weapons for free. And of course, if you get the warbands, the main 2 things you get out of it is the new banner, 2 of them, and a team slot. And it's never too bad to have additional team slots. But yeah, those 2 things are around. So if you want to get them, they are around. If you are still low in war coins, the best way to try to get more is to run arena every single day. You will get 3 more attempts to try to get it. The other way, of course, is to hope you get it randomly off of your daily offers, as it is possible to get war coins on any of these 3, or the 2 if you don't have VIP 6. So it is possible to get them there, and you get 3 more rolls if you do arena every single day. So if you're getting really unlucky, you might want to start doing a little bit of arena just to try to get those war coins if you really want to try getting everything. As far as Soulforge, it's pretty much worth ignoring this week. Nothing really too noteworthy. All 4 of the mythics pretty bad, one of which is like one of the worst in the entire game, the Gargantor, of course. If you are to craft any, though, I'd probably skip regardless, is Vashtagan. He has a very weird synergy with Iron Gut, particularly for brown or blue Tower of Doom. There are a few other instances where you might end up synergizing it with it. Overall, probably worth skipping, though. Main noteworthy thing it has impervious while cursing every single time you take brown. This is very common if you're using an apothecary like team with off a pure blue with like Iron Gut or something similar. Just quite a few instances where it can get value with it because of course Iron Gut needs curse on the opposing team so that things that have immune to devour no longer have immune to devour, and then you can end up devouring them with your Iron Gut. So it has pretty good synergy there since you're going to be spamming a lot of brown. The other synergy that it has, it gets to devour an ally and then summon a daemon, and then deals scatter damage boosted by its life. And if you're devouring one of your allies, which is a gigantic HP Iron Gut, you can end up getting quite a bit of additional true damage there, which is good for wiping out whatever might be left on an opposing team. Overall, very situational, and so situational that probably not worth going out of your way for. But out of any of these 4 mythics, it's probably the only one I ever barely touch if I'm going to be using them at all. So worth considering, as you might see me using it ever so occasionally just because of its synergy with Iron Gut. Overall, not something you would get until way later in the game, as it's still pretty bad. But anyways, weapons also pretty bad, unless you want to get like maybe one of the merfolk kind of like double weapon thingies. Though you can't even use it during the event because it has to be blue. So yeah, probably overall just a pure skip on Soulforge. Just ignore it's even here this week, and just save for a future week. Anyways, aside from that, let's go over a bunch of teams and everything else. We'll start from the top. This first one's actually not a team, mostly just to say that Header and Scroll in the expanded pass, you can actually get it today, which is a week earlier than where it would normally be in the past. We'll be going over this tonight at our normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we do every single night on this channel. We'll be messing with it. We'll probably have a video up on going over teams in the next day or so. Its main synergy is going to be used with the 50% Mana Start Forest Guardian combined with the Warden Hero class from Grim Woods, because they're all from Grim Woods, and then probably one other beast to kind of put it together. Biggest issue that it has is it gains attack and magic. However, half your team is going to not gain any benefit from that magic, and plus it's such a small amount anyways, because this gains no benefit from magic, as well as Forest Guardian, which will be giving you your 50% Mana Star off a beast, also doesn't do it. Theoretically, you could also do it off of elementals, though given all the synergy that it has, you're generally going to be using it with a pure Grim Woods team, or a 3 times Grim Woods team with one other beast within the game. Overall, seems like it has some potential. It's one of only 2 double converts in the entire game that has a convert something to gem as well as convert something to Doomskull, the other one being Glaceon. Glaceon has a 20 mana cost, this is a 23. One other pretty big benefit that it has is Lycanthropy gems are indeed purple gems, so it does count towards your mana accumulation, specifically mana accumulating right back into itself, so it has a little bit of synergy there. Plus it has Impervious, so it doesn't end up Lycanthroping. It's also itself. It also has a pretty consistent 4 times Lycanthropy to the opposing team, which really isn't really an option other than this thing, so that ends up working out pretty well for that. Though overall, seems a bit above average. Don't think it's going to be super meta, but it could be. I'll have to mess with teams later and just kind of see what it can end up doing. But just a reminder that that's around. Aside from that, as far as World events, I most likely will be doing a Jar of Eyes team. Jar of Eyes did get nerfed about half a year ago. However, it does still have Perpetual Blue Storm if you just keep casting it, and that has some pretty good synergy as far as, like, you know, when you're forced to have to use a blue team, getting some pretty decent synergy there. It's a 2-time Skull glitch that ended up getting added last week is being too annoying. You can switch to a tankier hero class. They are looking into fixing that very soon. However, I believe at this current moment in time, it is not fixed yet, so hopefully they will soon. But anyways, it's basically just a Deep King spam team. Deep King does true damage. You're going to be not only having 20% additional stats, but of course you're also going to be having the extra spell damage, and of course true damage gains a bit more of a benefit from the extra damage compared to physical damage, since it's just going straight for their HP, and having additional damage onto that, very effective. So overall, you basically spam him until you win. If you're looking for a cheaper team, Merline spam's probably your better option. Or your main option. It ends up doing a similar amount of damage, though it does a physical instead of true damage. It also has a double silence, so if they do end up surviving, you at least get them silenced. You can end up using the Merlantis weapon that you get for free from doing 250 wins on the Tidecaller hero class if you end up doing that, if you don't already have it already. Otherwise, if you already have it, Rope Dart would be a better option if you happen to have. However, this weapon is 100% free, and it can be obtained over the course of this week if you want to go and get it if you don't already have it already. It hits pretty hard, especially with 20% additional stats, and you're forced to have to use blue, so it ends up working out pretty nice. Also for the Skull glitch, this thing has barrier, so you could just take 0 damage. It also has life gain, so you have even more tankiness, also a score reduction, so you have even more tankiness on top of that. So overall, nice amount of border control, nice amount of tankiness. It's only an ultra rare. Actually, all of these things are ultra rare, except for the weapon that you get for free from doing 250 wins on Tidecaller class. And you might want to use Tidecaller class anyways this week, because 20% additional stats if you don't already have the weapon. Anyways, aside from that, as far as the faction for Tuesday, it is a brown-blue restriction, so you can kind of just bring out the Truffle team. It is pretty relevant to if you're going to be using an AoE kind of team, which is why I didn't end up showing like something like Rowan build. It's pretty good to have Dispel this week. Dispel is on level 70. ideally on Warden, so you can get Green Storm as well. But the spell basically allows your hero to get rid of all stats effects, or all positive stats effects from the enemy team. This is really good for getting rid of Submerge in a team like this, so that you can just keep truffling forever, because the extra turn off of truffles brown and green onto the board will end up triggering your dispel, so that its damage ends up just applying instead of having to worry about Submerge, because this kingdom does have, I believe, the highest amount of any faction in the entire game, so it's nice to have a little bit of a counter to it as you're progressing through the faction. Aside from that, for running pure faction, this is what I ran when I ended up doing it. Personally, it's Hammerclaw, Sea Witch, Double Deep King, kind of similar premise to actually the Ward event, where basically we're just mana accumulating into killing everything with Deep King, and he gets 20% this week, so it ends up working out pretty well. Actually, everything has 20% this week, so as far as the team for pure faction, so it ends up working out pretty well, since the player does gain more of a benefit from the 20% bonus than the enemy does, since you can spam your abilities quite a bit more, and overall should be even easier than normal, though it is one of the more annoying pure factions in the game, mostly because of the mythic, or the legend just hits so ridiculously hard, and it can be hard to survive it without barrier, potions, and, you know, other similar things to keep you tankier. Aside from that, we got Tidecaller Hero Class, of course, this Thursday for running that. If you didn't get Dawnbringer last week, with all the souls, if you didn't already have it, you're at least very close to getting so. So yeah, you can just run or you can just run Dawnbringer. Any other full AoE weapon would work. Basically, we're just feeding a bunch of blue into a weapon, and if you happen to be using Dawnbringer, you also gain additional damage off all the yellow, and you basically just cast the weapon, and you're good to go. You can also do a Tidecaller Hero Class for 20% additional stats, which makes for a pretty hefty hit. And given that you have 50% mana start still on Tidecaller as well, pretty great option. And aside from that, we technically showed this last week, though it wasn't needed last week. However, it is needed this week. This Friday we have Invasions. It was supposed to be last week's Friday, but it got moved to this week's Friday. So yeah, basically same team. You just go double Viscera. It destroys everything like you normally do in a invasion event, where double the invasion killer. Basically it just auto wins. This thing feeds mana into itself, one of the few double converting ones that do feed into itself. And it also creates red, which obviously goes into Viscera. And we have tape on here just for the immediate red, in case you get a really good starting board. You'll immediately have 2 Visceras, which is pretty much 2 free kills until you get later into the battles. So overall, should be a pretty easy, straightforward event. Anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up for this week's video. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. It'll be interesting to see what they do for Community Week this time around. It seems like they might just be giving us a few resources, but they've done quite a few other things in the past, so let's kind of have to wait and see. But it does seem like they're just going to be giving us some resources, some offers, and other stuff like that. But who knows? Maybe they'll give us another Vault event at the end of the week. No, just kidding. Very much not going to happen, especially after how much loot came in last time around. But anyways, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye, everyone.